Good morning, good morning. And what a lovely morning it is. It's probably going to be, let's try and get this right. There we go. It's probably going to be one of the hottest days of the year today. They're forecasting 34. Probably be slightly less than that because we're on the coast. There's something weird going on with the road. You see those signs? The road closed signs. I don't know. Anyway, the main thing is that we can come this way. It's the advantage of having two ways of going to work. I hope you're well. We had quite an interesting patient come in on Thursday, I think it was. This young lady, and she was concerned because she got toothache, and it was a very sort of nebulous, funny kind of toothache, including pain, trismus on the left hand side, and she was in urgent want of treatment because she was going to Glastonbury over the weekend, and we were like, oh, that's fine. Glastonbury, yes, okay, yeah, that's sort of urgent. Don't want to go to Glastonbury with a toothache. Anyway, it turns out she's married to one of the band members of one of the bands, which I won't say which band because you will know them. And so as a result, I don't want to compromise her anonymity. But yeah, it was a weird case because it was one of those cases where her teeth were so, I mean, to be honest with you, there were sort of about 6 things that could be wrong with it. Could be a wisdom tooth coming through, could be a cracked tooth, could be decay, could be pulp death or partial pulp death, all these things. So we tested for all of that. And almost always in these factors, multi-factorial diagnostic problems, or previous episodes of dentistry figure into it. So she had some fillings which, didn't look like they were very good quality. It looked like they might have decay or some sort of radiolucency underneath the filling, which is, I don't know, roadworks all over the place at the moment. So, and it was evident in other types of, and, her history is a sort of a very sort of peripatetic, I suppose, lifestyle of the groupie, and the successful groupie, going all over the place, getting your fillings done as and when you can. There are various dodgy NHS dentists in the past. So I worked out that she got decay in her upper left 7, and it wasn't like frank decay. It was she just had a filling. The filling was far too dark. It was far too brown and grey, and it had a sort of a brown line round it, So it was obvious that whatever was going on at the base of the filling, underneath the filling, not around the edge of the filling. So we took it out, and I put a zinc oxide eugenol in it. Now you say, well, why didn't you just fill it? I mean, I could have just filled it, but to be honest with you, the medicinal effects of the eugenol are, in these sort of cases, far better than just putting another filling in. So, because you can't guarantee that that's even the right tooth at this stage. Anyway, she hasn't been in touch, so I don't know. But perhaps she's found some painkillers at Glastonbury that have coped with it. Talking of Glastonbury, there's big hoo-ha this morning because one of the bands at Glastonbury, has expressed their support for the Palestinians. Let's put it that way, which makes you anti-Semitic apparently. So, and I know this because I qualified at University College Hospital, which was we had a lot of Jewish people in my class, and as a result, any discussion of the Palestinians, the plight of the Palestinians, even in the late 70s, early 80s, resulted in you being shunned, as they call it. You know, nobody talking to you, which as a dental student is a bit, you know. Oh, I suppose I understand that you have to put your religion. If you're very religious, you have to put your religion before your friends and colleagues. But it was sad, really. And it's a reason why we've not had any reunions. Because as soon as we left UCH, my year split up to the four corners of the earth, and then we never went back. We never wanted to see each other again. You know, it's not like we wanted a reunion. It's the last thing we wanted. That's a reunion. So, oh, I don't know. I suppose they might have had reunions and not told me. Perhaps it's just me. Anyway, who cares? That's what I say. If it's right for them, it's right for me. But no, there's been a big problem because one of the bands was very pro-Palestinian, and then there was a lot of talk about whether that should be broadcast, and they decided no, it shouldn't be broadcast because at the moment the BBC is under a lot of pressure not to broadcast anything in support of the Palestinians or pro-Palestinian. To be pro-Palestinian in this country now is like to be a heretic, is to be a traitor. So, although I suspect, and I'll tell you what my evidence is for suspecting this, or my additional evidence, is that the vast majority of the people in this country are not at all happy with what the British government is doing in Gaza, you know, in support of the Israelis, or in Iran in support of the Israelis. And that's why we don't see opinion polls ever saying what public opinion is on this, because I don't think they want the public to know what public opinion is. They want everyone to sit there thinking that they are isolated. They're the only person who's appalled by these atrocities, and they're the only person who thinks that what the Israelis doing is a genocide, and therefore not be more vocal, you know. Oh, hello. That should be me. Tabby doing a run. Good for you, mate. Good for you. I wish I could run to work. Anyway, so they decided that they didn't want a pro-Palestinian. I mean, it will be better if they said, look, we don't want any politics to come into this. Is a music festival. Oh, two butterflies, look. But you know, that's a bit like saying they don't want any politics to come into the Oscars or the National TV Awards or whatever. You know, these people, they get a platform and they're asked what they want to say, and sometimes they stick to thanking their mother and their producer, and other times they've got a political message. You know, they've got an axe to grind, and it's difficult. And I suppose the organisers would rather that they get the politics out and stuff. But the problem with Glastonbury is that's nice, aren't they? These lovely wild pink flowers. Is that Glastonbury is a bit like Woodstock. You know, it's a bit of it's a young person's thing. It's a protest thing. It's a reactionary thing. They don't know what they want, but they know what they're against. You know. So this is the place where all the so-called hippy-dippy people go to protest against oil and carbon release and I don't know, anything. They protest. There's a stage there for protesting against everything. And And sure enough, one of the other acts took over pretty much the job of protesting in support of the Palestinians, and ended up leading the audience in a chant of "Kill the IDF," which is the Israeli army, basically, that's involved in prosecuting their Israeli policy in Gaza. And this was broadcast live on the BBC. And I mean, you can now so I've set the stage, right? You've got this massive state broadcaster that's the broadcasting arm of the government, and set up specifically to be that, no pretense of independence from the government, certainly, designed to put the government's message across at a time when the government realised that it needed its own broadcasting organisation to get the message across, and has got its tentacles absolutely everywhere. Has got I don't know how many main channels. It's got the prime real estate, number one on your dial, number one on your buttons. Has got a legal framework in place that allows us to, I think, makes it a criminal offence not to pay them some money every year. Off we go. And its own enforcement police. It's got God knows how many radio channels, probably 8 national radio channels. It's got, I don't know, dozens of regional radio channels. You can't even get away from it at a regional level. They've got a monopoly on regional radio. Try setting up a regional radio station and see how far you get. And as just sort of extended its tentacles into absolutely everything, from foreign affairs, broadcasting abroad, the World Service, to education, Department of Education work in revising for exams, GCSE syllabus, recipes. It's the National Recipe Database. They have just got too much money, in my opinion. Too much money. And they're doing too much with it. And of course they're suppressing a large number of other, businesses who probably could do the job as well as, if not better. And they love their big events. They've got a synergism working there, where they broadcast Glastonbury, and so all of a sudden everybody knows about Glastonbury, so then everybody wants to go to Glastonbury, so Glastonbury gets bigger, and they get better acts, and so and so more people want to go, and the BBC wants to cover it more, and then all of a sudden they realise that they're covering this sort of subversive festival, and which is broadcasting messages which they don't really want on the mainstream TV, and they do their best to keep subversive messages off the BBC. You couldn't, at the height of the COVID epidemic, stroke mass panic, stroke public hysteria, go on the BBC and say that, as a dentist, you've been wearing masks for 30 years, and in your opinion they don't really prevent much. The main use for a mask comes into play at 2:00 when you've been down the pub and you don't want to breathe beer on your patients so that they know you've been drinking. That's what masks are always useful for. Never for preventing airflow or or filtering anything. Everything goes around the outside of a mask. We all know that. Certainly one with elasticated earbands. I mean, ones with, which are tie-on, and then you might get some sort of movement of air through the mask, but not otherwise. GF68 NCX. NCX, perhaps that stands for Jackie X. No, you'd have been taken off the air straight away. Or if you'd gone on and said, look, this is not, although this is a virus, our main problem is public hysteria. And I've seen this twice before. I saw it in the 80s during the AIDS epidemic, and I saw it more recently in the BSE panic, and to a lesser extent, in the year 2000, when we had the year 2000 computer virus, and everyone was saying that the planes are going to fall out of the sky. So, we have these panics from time to time. So, now there's a massive hoo-ha about whether the BBC should be prosecuted. I don't know why. I mean, I know that the BBC, it's the snooker as well, isn't it? They carry all the snooker. It's massive. It's days and days and days of free television. And Glastonbury's, for the Glastonbury to allow the BBC cameras in there, I think it doesn't seem to affect them all that much. I wouldn't dream of going to the Crucible to see the snooker when I can see it on the telly. But I think Glastonbury being a festival, it's much more of an experience to be there, and so Glastonbury doesn't suffer too much from letting the cameras in. And the BBC, it's great because they can, do you know how much it will cost the BBC to procure the amount and the quality of music that Glastonbury procures? So for them, they think they've really fallen on their feet. But when it comes to monitoring the output, I think they've really fallen asleep. Because this guy, here we go. There's all the, there's today's migrants coming in on a bus, anonymous white bus. So they would have bleeped it. If they'd been listening properly, they would have bleeped it on any other BBC channel, I think. But because it's Glastonbury, they're like, what are you going to do? That, cutting a live feed to Glastonbury. I'm willing to forget. I think it was just above someone's pay grade. Someone's like, you need to cut the live feed. I'm not going to cut the live feed. You can cut it if you want to. Go on, there's the button. Go on, you do it. I'm not going to do it. It's not my job. Well, it's not my job either. Ring the Director General. See what he says. And by then it was too late. We have to be a bit slow about doing this. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Thank you. If you're not slow there, then those guys never turn right and they never come out. So there you go. And so what would you do? How would you cope with that? What would you say? You say, well, we're leaving our coverage of Glastonbury for a few minutes to look at what's ahead on the BBC this week. Oh, hello. They've got a big moan site there and some marquees up. I wonder what they're doing. Oh, it's an air show. I think they've got an air show on. Yeah, and then come back to it later. I mean, what's the point is, they're saying, oh, well, it shouldn't have been shown. and it won't be available on iPlayer. So if you go to BBC iPlayer and try and see what all the fuss was about, you can forget it, because we've taken it off of iPlayer, so you can't see it. Oh, but by the way, if you go to YouTube, it's all over YouTube, you know. So I think this is going to suffer a bit from the Streisand effect, and there's calls to prosecute the, you know, there were calls all over the place at Glastonbury to take violent action in support of this, that, and the other. All stuff, you know, that people would, and the police have taken action over in the past, like that woman who was jailed for saying that they should set fire to migrant hostels, which I think it was, you know, I don't support that. I don't think jail is necessary for that, but I don't support that. I think that should be. I think that is incitement to violence. And we've got perfectly good laws against that, anyway, have had for hundreds of years. We'll see what they do. I don't suppose that bloke's going to get any more gigs. At least not from, you know, I mean, but it's very difficult to avoid getting drawn in. I mean, I had a patient in the other day, had a lot of expensive bridge work, which I recognise because I qualified at UCH, and half the patients at UCH came from Golders Green and Hampstead Heath, and, you know, synonym for teeth, and they had a lot of expensive crown and bridge work, and you know, he was going on and on and on about how he was in London and he used to be a publican, and he had pubs in the blah blah blah, and his last dentist was so brilliant. This is what they do. This annoys me. It's just like, I suppose this must be like being a girl and going out on a date with a bloke who just insists on talking about his wife, his ex-wife, or his estranged wife, or his last girlfriend, or something. And people come along and tell me how brilliant their last dentist was, and how unfortunately he disappeared. I think he disappeared because he made enough money. He made his money, and he went. But you know, he made a point of saying he's a Jewish dentist. He's a Jewish dentist, and this guy was Jewish. I mean, you sort of, you know, some people represent themselves in a way where they want to be recognised as Jewish, and if you know what to look for, obviously, you know, you can pick up on the signals that they're deliberately giving off. But this bloke was really blatant. I was taking bite wings, and we were trouble getting the bite wing in, and he kept saying, "Oh, he stand where," he said, "it's the size of my nose. My nose is getting in the way." And I'm like, and underneath I was thinking, actually, mate, you're not going to great lengths to try and tell me that you're Jewish. And to be honest with you, I suppose within your culture, you want to find out if the person you're dealing with is Jewish, because Jewish people dealing with Jewish people, they want to deal with other Jewish people. It's a bit of a community within a community, you know, and he went so far as to do it twice. When I was doing the other bite wing, he said, "Oh, my nose is getting in the way again, my nose." And I was like, just, I am dealing with your teeth here. I'm trying to deal with your teeth. So I said, "Okay, you're Jewish." I get it. But it's I don't know whether he thought I was Jewish. But anyway, my lack of his enthusiasm for his Jewishness caused him to calm down a bit. He told me that he said that he was looking for a good dentist, and he thinks he's found one, but he said we're engaged, we're not married. And I thought, oh, that's it. that conjures up all sorts of images that I don't really want to go down the road of. So, but anyway, we'll see how the BBC deals with it. You know, they'll probably add it to the list of probably just saying the word Palestine will make you a terrorist soon. Anyway, have a lovely hot day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.